So the GOP is currently having an identity crisis. What I have in front of me is an article from The Hill. Republicans race for distance from America First caucus. So I'll just read you a little bit of it. Republicans from various factions in the GOP are racing to distance themselves and the party at large from a band of hard-line House conservative whose flirtation with forming a caucus espousing white nationalist views has ignited a firestorm of controversy on Capitol Hill. GOP leaders, anti-Trump centrists, and vulnerable Republicans in battleground districts wasted little time in recent days denouncing the America First Caucus, as it's called, whose stated purpose in a platform document included the defense of America as a nation strengthened by a common respect for uniquely Anglo-Saxon political traditions. While the Republicans reportedly behind the group, including Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar, appear to have abandoned the project in the face of bipartisan criticism. Their very interest has created an enormous headache for Republican leaders seeking to steer the party away from an image of racial insensitivity and appeal to a broader swath of voters, including women and minorities, in the post-Trump era. This is a modern decaf version of the KKK, a group designed to elevate one race and ethnicity by diminishing all others. It should be summarily dismissed and condemned, former Rep. Carlos Curbelo said that. So what I want to do now is just read to you some of the criticism from many Republican leaders, and I just want you to see what they had to say. So this is from Representative John Katko of New York. He said, "Our nation was founded upon freedom and equality. As Americans, we should always strive to uphold and advance these fundamental values. Racism and nativism are antithetical to our core principles and should have no place in our society, let alone the halls of Congress." It doesn't stop there. It continues. The America First platform is a complete bullshit and a huge distraction. This was a GOP strategist. He said it undermines the bigger and more important story here, that there is a strong diversity within the Republican Party, and this current freshman class is providing us a strong path forward on how to connect and relate to an increasingly more diverse electorate. Representative Nancy Mace said, "America First should mean all Americans, wherever you are from, whatever you believe, as long as you want to be here and be free." Adam Kinzinger, one of 11 Republicans who voted with the Democrats in February to oust Marjorie Taylor Greene, they were trying to expel her from her seat in Congress, he went a step further, calling on the House Republican Conference to expel any lawmaker who signs up for the American First Caucus. We can't prevent someone from calling themselves Republican. We can loudly say they don't belong to us. Liz Cheney just went on to condemn the message of the group and described the Republican Party as equal opportunity, tolerance, one that rejects racism, nativism, and anti-Semitism. You had Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy even chimed in. He had to say that the Republican Party is the party of Lincoln, the party of more opportunity for all Americans, not nativist dog whistles. This kind of sentiment is espoused among a lot of Republicans, specifically the anti-Trump Republicans, the ones that want to make the Republican Party basically what it was before Trump. Now, there's this rift within the Republican Party culturally, okay? And I'll expand on that in just a second. But what's happening is they're currently weighing their options on how to move forward with the primaries that are coming up, because they realize that they can lose some seats and they're pretty vulnerable, and they're trying to change the messaging. So this is from a different article. A former Trump strategist had this to say: if you plan to run in 2022 and ignore the Trump coalition of Donald Trump, specifically, I don't think you're going to be that successful in a Republican primary. And honestly, he's right. This is still the party of Donald Trump, whether they want to accept that or not. It still is. Like, he still has a clean, 30 to 35% of the Republican base that will not deter from him. You know, they admit their full and unmitigated subservience to that man. And it's really weird, but I mean, it is what it is. And the Republicans, or certain Republicans, the ones that I just outlined to you that espouse their plight with this America's First Caucus or White Nationalist Caucus or White People First Caucus or whatever you want to call it, their beef with them is along cultural lines. Okay, now look, as it pertains to social issues and things, they may agree with these people, but they don't like that they're so outright with their nativism. They don't like the fact that they're so outright with their racism and their hatred. Okay, they don't like that. See, the Republicans before Donald Trump, we knew who they were, but we only knew what they told us. Okay, so they never really came out and said the incendiary things that Marjorie Taylor Greene says every single day. The Liz Cheney types, the anti-Trump types, they didn't not like Trump because he was bad with policy. No, he did all the fucking policies they wanted. The tax cuts, the deregulation, the endless war. He did everything that they want. They all agree on policy, and their policies are shit, which is why they never talk about it. But culturally, they don't want to be known as the racist, as the nativist, as the white nationalist, even if that's what they are. And I'm not saying that's what they are, but even if they were that, they don't want to openly be known as that and relish in that kind of identity. That's not the identity that they're seeking. As I just read you, they want to be the party of Lincoln and the party of tolerance and respect. And I have to say, it's worth to be noted that back in the day, the Conservative Party was indeed just a party that wanted to advance the country, but do so conservatively. But now it's became the party of a bunch of hyperbolic, reactionary dumbasses whose policies are completely awful. And the Democrats are trailing not too far behind them as it pertains to their policies in certain areas. Okay, now in certain areas, of course, the Democrats blow the Republicans out of the water by far and away. The Republicans would have never support that $15 minimum wage as most of the Democrats did, although it failed. I don't need to go issue for issue, but their policies are trash, okay? And culturally, they don't want to align themselves with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Matt Gaetz. He's in a lot of shit right now, among others. So there's an identity crisis, but they're in between a rock and a hard place because they know that the subservience of the base is still with Donald Trump. And these people that don't like Donald Trump, that are Republicans, hate that. And they don't really know what to do because they know that they need to put resources behind specific races where certain Republicans may be vulnerable. The Republicans at large, at least the way that I see it, are confused and they don't really know how to go forward. All the policy they agree on. They agree, as I stated earlier, deregulation, cut taxes for the rich, fuck the middle class, etc., 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 guns, Christianity, all that, okay? They all agree on that. But the tweets, the openly bigotry, the, denouncing of certain populations, certain, that are in the minority, whether it be black people, Mexicans, whatever, immigrants, they don't like that, okay? They want to kind of reel all that in because in their minds, the Republican Party that they know in their head, right, in their own fantasy, is one that is, as Liz Cheney pointed out, tolerant and respectful and whatever. And look, if you come across this video, don't think, and you hear me say all these things, don't think that like the Liz Cheneys, the Kevin McCarthy's, they're somehow holier than thou because they're not as bad as Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, these people are all still pieces of shit, okay? They just don't want you to know that they're pieces of shit. That's it.